Hello and welcome back to my Road to Completion guide for The Last Guardian. Guys, we're in episode number 9. I'm calling this episode Barrels and Spears. We talked about this at the end of chapter 8. We have to work on getting 48 more barrels. We've already got 48. We need a total of 96 to be able to get a couple of unlocks with the outfits, as well as being able to paint Trico. And the spears portion comes into play because we need to pull out all the spears from Trico as the spears hit Trico's body during fights and stuff like that. We got to be able to pull those out fairly quick to be able to get our intensive care trophy. Now remember to check your trophy list because there may be some trophies that you don't have as you start this second run in the game. This is your last opportunity to be able to clean up any trophies that you don't have, because the third run of the game is going to be the speed run, and we do not want to be wasting time trying to pick up trophies or anything like that during that run of the game. Now, because this is a second run of the game, you guys should already be familiar with the game itself, the puzzles, how to control Trico, stuff like that. So I will not be playing through every single second of the game. What I'm going to be doing is kind of cutting it up, making it more of a highlight, like a montage of all the things that we need to do, all the steps we need to take to be able to get through the game. I'll be doing some post commentary throughout, especially when it comes to taking out the spears from Trico. I have a couple of strategies in mind for you guys, so that way we can get on into run number 3. Again, make sure you check the description of this video. I will have everything timestamped below. That way, if you know, just in case you're looking for a specific barrel or something like that, you can just zoom right to it. I just want to make sure that we get everything done in this episode, guys. All your miscellaneous trophies, all 48 barrels, and we got to get that intensive care trophy because we want the next episode to be strictly all about the speed run and the platinum. Okay, so as soon as you're able to control the boy, you want to head back here and pull the spear out of Trico's back leg. You guys know there's also one on Trico's right shoulder. I've read on some forums that these two spears don't count toward the intensive care trophy, meaning, I mean, I guess you are pulling spears out, but I'm saying that the intensive care trophy doesn't officially start until after this section. That's what I've read on some forums. I've also read that it starts in this section. So we are going to assume that it starts in this section. So the strategy here is to pull that back one out of Trico's back leg as fast as possible. Then we want to get these 3 barrels and feed them to Trico as fast as possible. And then we want to make a beeline straight for the spear on Trico's right shoulder. Okay, that's how we're going to play this because we want to ensure that we're going to get this trophy. Trust me, you guys do not want to have to make another run at this game if you missed the trophy on this run, right? That's just an extra run that you don't need to make. So we're going to treat this thing with kid gloves and make sure that we can get all the spears taken care of super quick. I've also read on some forums that it's not necessary to pull the spears out right away, meaning if a guard throws a spear at Trico and you hear it hit, you go straight to it. In other words, it's not necessary to pull it out right then. We're not going to play that game. We're going to pull these suckers out as soon as we possibly can, just to ensure that we get the trophy. The forums basically state that spears can be hanging off of Trico's body, and as long as you don't go to the next area of the game, meaning like another checkpoint, you can pull them out kind of whenever. In other words, there's no need to be in that big a hurry. But again, and I cannot stress this enough, we're not going to play that game. We don't want to risk it and go through the entire game and then, you know, have one of those combat areas where it looks like, we can wait just a couple seconds. It's not a big deal. We can pull them out because there's no checkpoint nearby, and then we don't get the trophy. So the way that I handle this is just in that light, okay? Every time you see a spear hit Trico's body, you want to pull it out as fast as possible. And I do keep in mind that when you're pulling spears out, sometimes you will not pull them out right away because Trico is kind of bucking and flailing around everywhere. So like if you hit O and you go to pull it out and he bucks and flails and does all his stuff, then what's going to happen is you're going to let go of that spear. So you got to make sure that you press O again, right? So you can get that spear out. And you might have to do it a couple of times, but that should be your focus. You also want to make sure that after every fight, even if you're sure that you pull out every spear, you still want to take the time to scale Trico's body. You want to go all the way up and down the left-hand side of the body, around the back side of his body, and then the right-hand side of his body. Even on his belly, sometimes I've seen spears. You want to check behind his wings real good, because even though you can't, there may be times where you can't see the spear, but that does not mean that it's not there, because you guys know that as the game progresses, his wings get larger, and they will tend to cover spears up because his wings are pretty big. They cover a big portion of his body near the end of the game. And if a spear has broken off, in other words, it's cut in half, you won't be able to see it because his wing will be covering it. So you have to scale his body after each combat section just to be sure. Also listen for audio cues when he's been stuck by a spear. A lot of times you will hear him make almost like a whimper sound when he's either been cut or hit by a spear. So obviously if you see 4 guards in the area and they've all got swords and you hear him whimper, well, he's not hit by a spear, obviously, because he's just been cut. But anytime there's spears in the area and you hear that whimper sound, just assume that he's been struck by a spear. Don't assume that he's been cut by a sword, okay? Always assume the worst and start looking for that spear right away. I'm not going to be showing in this episode, I'm not going to be showing any of the fights where there are no spears, because some of these combat areas don't have spears at all. And so there's no need to worry about getting the trophy. So I'm cutting all those combat scenarios out. I'm only putting in the combat scenarios where spears are available for the guards to throw. So just keep that in mind. There's also one portion near the end of the game that I feel like is going to be your biggest hurdle, and I'll obviously be doing commentary for that because there's a part where you're coming out. It's right after you had your Trico fight and you're coming out of that area. There's 2 guards on the balcony and they continuously toss spears at you over and over and over again, and it's very tricky to get through that scenario and also have this idea that you got the trophy, because you'll pull a spear out, you'll go over there to continue the progression of the game by, you know, putting the gate down on the masked Trico's tail. By the time you come back, there'll be another spear in there, and then what you'll notice is when Trico falls off the bridge, there's no spears. So it's always this like, uh-oh, did I get credit? Like, where are the spears? I didn't pull them out. And that's actually cost me a trophy. When I was practicing this, I went through the game and I was like, well, I guess the game just automatically gives you credit because, you know, after I feed these barrels to Trico and he stands up, well, there's no spears. But I don't think that it does because I didn't get the trophy. So in this run, I'll be showing you exactly how I can show you how to get those spears out 100%, and you'll be confident that you're able to get that part of this thing done so you can get your trophy. That's pretty much it. Like I said, I'm gonna be showing you on screen where all 48 barrels are again, so you don't have to dig back through all the other episodes you've watched already to find out where they are. I thought that would be kind of neat for the run. And then I'm just going to be doing some commentary as we get the fights, kind of explaining to you, kind of the strategy behind how we're getting the spears out. So anyway, with all that said, enjoy the rest of this, and I'll see you guys in the next encounter. All right, so this is going to be the first encounter that there's going to be some spears in the area. So let's go through this step by step. There's two schools of thought here. One is you stay on ground level, and as the guards pick up the spears, you press your square button. You know, you run into them and you kind of dive into them, or you can knock the spears out of their hands. Remember, if the spears don't ever hit Trico's body, you don't ever have to worry about pulling the spears out, right? And you'll get the trophy that way. The only reason why I prefer you not to do that strategy here is because, like you just saw there, there's multiple guards in the area that can toss spears. And so I would hate for you to be on ground level trying to knock a spear out of a guard's hand while there's also a spear in Trico's body somewhere, and meanwhile time's ticking. Like I said, we don't want to risk this. So I'd rather you be on Trico's back here pulling those spears out as soon as you see them go in his body, just for safety. Okay, that doesn't mean that in future fights we're not going to do the strategy where we dive into them and knock it out, but I kind of have this thing mapped out for you guys that I feel like is the best way. So you can do whichever way you prefer, right? If you want to stay on ground level, do that, but I would urge you to just stay on his back, and as you hear/see the spears go inside of his body, go ahead and get near them and press the O button and pull them out as quick as you can. Also, something to note here is to save. Right before this fight, you guys know when you're up on top of that that area before you dive down here, there's a checkpoint. So right before this fight, I would save if I were you. That way, if you do mess up here and you don't feel like you've gotten these spears out quick enough, you can just go back to your previous save and continuously try it. That's something you should do before every combat sequence, okay? Because once you pass a combat sequence and the checkpoint, the next checkpoint cues in, you can't go back. So then the only way to get the trophy is to restart the game and play all the way back through again, right? Which is something we don't want to do. So you want to be constantly saving. And if you've followed this guide so far, you kind of know where the save spots are, where I typically save. I've also had notes on the screen that tell you to save. So you should kind of know that, but I will be reminding you as we go through this guide. You can see right here, I'm fairly confident that I got the spears out, but I'm just making sure. I want to make sure that I got all those spears out before I go to the next area. So this is the first combat sequence that might give you an issue just because there's 6 guards and there's about 3 or 4 spears laying around this area, so it can be quite tricky. What we're going to do is break this thing down into stages. So stage number 1 is going to be to lure this guard over here by Trico and have Trico kill him. I find that if the guard picks me up, Trico will kill him rather quickly. Once that guard is dead, we want to run down the hallway, not to the main end and not to the ladder. We just want to go far enough down the hallway to get these 4 guards to kind of spawn in. Now, a lot of times, 2 of them will go for the spears and then 2 of them will go for you. In this case, it was kind of unfortunate. My goal was to knock over all the people with the spears and basically not get picked up by the other guards, but obviously you see that happened there. You also see there that guard just tossed and completely missed. Now, this is something that's very interesting about this game. I find that a lot of times if the guards are facing Trico, okay, it's very hard for them to hit him straight on. Now, if he's turned to the side and they've got his whole body there, right, as a hitbox, they tend to hit him every time. But if he's standing right in front of them, they tend to miss. So by not freeing Trico, by not going to the ladder and hitting the switch and all that stuff, we're not giving them that big hitbox that they so desperately want. So 9 times out of 10, even if you're not trying to knock over the people with the spears here, they're just gonna miss, okay? Because I don't think the game intends for spears to go like in Trico's eyes or his face. I've never seen spears hanging off his face before. So by keeping that front and center, we're decreasing the size of their hitbox, and a lot of times they'll miss. And in this case, you can see right here, because I am looking to make sure that nothing got Trico, there's nothing there, which is great. So that's kind of like stage number 2, right? We don't want there to be, well, first of all, we don't want there to be a bunch of enemies running around. So right then we had 4 guards running around instead of 6, because one of them was already dead and one of them stood down there at the end of the hallway stationary. That's number 1. That gave them less opportunity to pick up spears. And number 2, we want to keep his hitbox as small as possible. So that's why you just saw me there basically just keeping him in prison. You know what I mean? Keeping his tail tied up so he couldn't move. Now what we're going to do is run down here for stage number 3. Again, we're going to let him go now because there's only one more guard left. So we're going to come up here and do the little switch, and then we're just going to go down there and take the last guard out. The reason why we want to take the guard out down there is because there's no spears down there. If we would have bypassed this ladder section and went ahead and got the guard first and then tried to do the switch, he would have ran all the way down here and possibly could have picked up one of these spears and, you know, put one into Trico. So we don't want that. So we just basically unlocked Trico there. Come down here and he'll take him out really quick for you. And that takes care of that engagement. Alright, so your next encounter is going to be right after the first falling bridge section of the game. I kind of put this footage in here because I wanted some time to talk. We're going to do this a bit differently. It's going to be a combination of baiting the guards over to us. You guys know that when the guards get close to you, especially if you're not on the same platform as them, what they'll do is they'll stand in one spot and they'll kind of close their hands and put those symbols on you, if you know what I mean. Notice also that we left Trico back there, right? If Trico's not around the area, well then guess what? They can't toss spears at him. And there's 1 or 2 spears in this area. So all I'm doing is baiting the 2 guards over here. Trico's still coming through the hallway way back there, right? We know we still got to get this barrel up top to get our 48 barrels. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that because look at the guards. They're stationary down below me. Trico's not even caught up with this yet, which is great. So I'm just using that time to go ahead and get this barrel, you know, down to the bottom platform so he can eat later on. But I'm not worried about anything because even if Trico comes to the edge there, the guards are going to stay over here with me because I'm their priority. And because they don't even know that Trico's on the board yet, right? I think he just showed up. They're more focused on me. I've completely got their attention, which is great. You can see they're still down there. They haven't even picked up a spear yet, which is great. And then all I'm going to do is come over here. You can jump to this platform. Unfortunately, I fell off there. This would have been perfect. If I could have went ahead and knocked the glass eye off, they wouldn't have never had any opportunity to grab a spear because the spears are back there where the ledging section is, right? But unfortunately, I fell off. So I think they do end up picking up some spears here, but you can see what I was trying to do. And that's what you should do, right? Get the barrel down as quick as possible. Take the chain over to the other side. Go ahead and push the eye off as quick as possible. And they'll never even have a chance to pick up a spear. And I think even here they pick up, I think right here they do pick up spears, but they miss. I want to say that they miss because I think there's only 1 or 2 spears in this area, so it's not that big a deal. And they're still behind me right now, so I think Trico just hops down and gets crazy on them pretty quick here. But again, it doesn't matter, right? What you're trying to do is not even have them pick up a spear at all. I think right now he's going back for the spear. So what I could do and what I tried to do was jump down, and then I was going to run over there and dive and knock that dude down. But unfortunately I had to pay a leg penalty. So what you might want to do is drop down on Trico first so you don't have to pay the leg penalty and then go over to the guy. Or as soon as you knock the eye off, go ahead and make your way down because, you know, 9 times out of 10 they're going to go for the spear. But if you do it correctly, guys, they'll never even pick up a spear, which is what I was trying to show you there to begin with. But unfortunately I fell off. And again, right here, even though I'm 100% sure that nobody got a spear off because it's on the ground there, I'm still going to be scaling Trico's body just to make sure that there's no spears. So the next encounter is going to be the drawbridge section of the game. Remember, you had to go and pull those 2 switches, and then you had to cross over these rafters. Meanwhile, those guards were putting spears into Trico. Now there's 2 schools of thought here as well. Remember, you were over there where those guards were. You had to pass through that tunnel to push the second switch. It is possible to dive at those guards and just knock them off the edge. while you're over there, and then there's no need to even worry about any of these spears, which I would highly advise. Just keep in mind that if you're diving into them and you miss them, you're gonna die because you're gonna jump out into the abyss. But that is a viable strategy. Just keep jumping into them until you knock them off the ledge. I tend to just do it this way, where as soon as Trico, as soon as I get to the hanging section, I go ahead and call Trico. As soon as Trico jumps on the bridge, I press X, fall down, and then I just scale his body on the left and right side and pull him out as fast as possible. That's going to be fast enough to get credit for pulling out the spears.
Atatui atiketu tumu. Irabe ujinetu. Atakutu katimu. Awokuku. unnecessary pupils, even because to neck or not or chapter always.
Okay, so now we're at the Coliseum fight. What I normally do is I'll run super fast here and kind of leave Trico behind because I want to have time to come up here and get this barrel. That way after the fight's over, Trico can just go ahead and eat. This is obviously not necessary if you're, just doing the spears, but you guys should be worried about your barrels too. So this is just a quick way. See how he's still back over there? So I don't have to worry about spears being thrown into him right now because I left him. Now I've got the barrel down here. Now he's going to be going ahead and coming into this fight, and then I can focus on the guards. So I just knocked down the guard right there with the eye. There's only one dude here that'll toss spears typically because I try to keep the fight on this side of the map. There's one spear on this side and there's two spears kind of right where Trico jumps down. If you keep the fight on this end, then you don't even have to worry about the other two spears in play, which is great. My focus here again is obviously the dude with the eye because I want Trico to be able to jump down here and kind of go crazy on people. So I'm focusing on him if I can. Right then I was trying to go for the dude with the spear, but he went ahead and tossed. I'm pretty sure that he missed, like we talked about earlier. He was facing Trico directly, and so Trico's hitbox was a lot smaller. So I'm pretty sure that he missed. But again, as soon as the fight's done, I'm going to check Trico just to be sure. You can see right there that I'm also pulling the heads off the guards. That will speed up the time of the fight. Basically what you want to think about is this: if you're on Trico's back and spears are being tossed, it's not really a big deal how long the fight lasts because you're pulling the spears out instantly. But if you're on ground level, you want to be able to kill all the guards as fast as possible because you want to be able to hop back up on Trico and pull spears out, right? Because we're on that timer. And nobody really knows right now what that timer is. Like I said, some people have said it's based on checkpoints, but we are not, we're not going to assume that, right? So if you're on ground level and you know that there's a spear in Trico and you need to get the fight over quick so you can get up there and pull those things out. But you can see right here, I'm just scaling his body again, both sides, just checking really well to make sure that there's those spears before I move to the next area.
se più così, io vedi così, tu neck, ora tu, una cat, awisi.
All right, so this encounter takes place right after the tunnel collapse. What you want to do is head all the way down here to the end of this tunnel. You want to get all the guards, right? Spawn them in. You can see that all the spears are down here, okay? So what we want to do is bait all the guards toward Trico. Remember, he's still down there laying in the tunnel. So we want to get all the guards, at least as many as possible, to come down there with us. Because remember, if they're down there with us, they're not near the spears, which is great. Not to mention, if they're all down there at the end of the tunnel with us, Trico can kill them quickly. What we're gonna do is pick up the scraps. So I think in this clip, one guard ends up running back for the spears. Sometimes I've had two run back for the spears, but most of the time, two of these will be down here with you, and Trico can kill them fairly quick. And then what we do, see how they pulled their swords out? I had 3 of them, which is great. That means I baited them really well. You want to at least get 2 of them down there with swords. Then you don't have to worry about those dudes. And then when you get down here, you go ahead and just keep knocking this guard over so he can't even toss a spear at all. Remember, if the guards are not tossing spears, you're automatically getting credit for the trophy, right? You just eliminate that part of it altogether. And you can see here I'm also pulling off the heads of the guards if I can to speed up the fight. Again, I'm not worried about these guards down here because I know there's no spears for them to pick up. They've only got swords at their disposal. And again, once the fight is over, just to be sure, I'm going to crawl up Trico. Even though I'm 100% confident that there's no spears been tossed, I just want to be certain. So I'm going to climb up Trico, scale his body, and then we'll move on to the next area. All right, so this is a very small encounter here. There's going to be 2 spears in the area. There's a spear on the right and the spear in front of us. What I like to do is kind of divide and conquer here. I'll come down here and try to keep this spear tosser at bay. And then I know that the other one might toss, but I'm not worried about that one right now because there's not many guards in the area. So I know if I can keep one spear tosser guy at bay, even if the other spear gets into Trico, I'll have plenty of time to pull it out, right? To still get credit for the trophy, because it's not going to take Trico but a couple of seconds here to kill all the guards. Like right now, I believe he's got them all dead already. So even if there's a spear in Trico now, I'm well within the time limit to pull it out. Does that make sense? Another thing you can do, I think he's got one more. There's another thing you can do is just look at the spears. Like I said, there's 2 spears in this area and they're full spears. So if the fight is over and you look around the area and there's still, 2 full spears laying on the ground, well, guess what? You don't have to worry about checking Trico because all the spears are accounted for. Now, right here is the masked Trico fight. This is directly after the engagement we were just in. This is probably going to be the trickiest one because spears are being tossed at Trico. You can see there's already one hanging out of Trico's body now. And the game wants you to go over there and pull the gate down on the masked Trico's tail. You guys know that part of the game. And it's very easy to want to go ahead over there and do that. The problem is that they're still going to be tossing spears at Trico. And as he falls from bridge to bridge, and then eventually from the lower bridge to the bottom platform, he tends to land on his side where the spears were, meaning you can't pull him out anymore, right? Now I practiced this one time. I had one full run of this game where I just focused on the spear trophy. And what I said was, you know what? I think the game is just giving me the benefit of the doubt here, that if he falls on the spears, right? If he falls on that side and I can't get to the spears, the game is just giving me credit for him anyway. I don't think that's true because I wasn't able to get the trophy. And I did it the exact same way that I'm doing it in the run you're seeing now, except I added this new step in. And that's what you're seeing right here. What I'm doing is waiting for them to toss all their spears. I think the game wants you to think that they have an infinite number of spears here, but they don't. They only have probably like 6 to 8 spears. Honestly, I've never counted before, but I want to say it's like 6 to 8 spears. So what I do is I hang out on Trico and I wait for them to toss all their spears. And you'll know when they're finished tossing because they'll go back into that balcony area like they're going to pick up another spear. But when they come back to the front, they'll be in the animation, like you see right now he's holding the spear. He's kind of in that animation, but he's got a spear in his hand. He'll have that same animation but no spear, and then that lets you know that you're good. And that keeps everything honest. It lets us know that we've definitely gotten this section of the game done when it comes to the intensive care trophy, because we have pulled all the spears out in a timely fashion. Whereas if he falls on them, you just don't know. You know what I mean? And I've seen some of the spears fall off his body naturally. So by the time he gets to the bottom, you just don't know if you got them all or not. And that's a scary feeling, right? Because you're almost to the end of the game at this point. Remember, you do want to continuously save as well. So save prior to getting to this fight, right? You want to be saving constantly, but you definitely want to put a save in before this fight just to be sure. Like right then I thought that spear hit Trico, but it didn't. And if it did, it bounced off. And I think this is the part where, okay, he's got a spear here. I want to say that the next time around is no spear. You got to also remember there's another section, because we're going to fall one time here and land on the lower bridge. There's going to be another dude with the spear that's going to be tossing at us. We're going to do the same thing with that guard, okay? Basically, he's got about the same number of spears as this dude, and I think that's it. I think I show you, yeah. See how he's got no spear, but it looks like he should have a spear, but he doesn't. And then I think I show you here, see way down there at the bottom is another balcony area. So we're just gonna repeat this process to make sure that we get credit for all these spears. Okay, so this is after the Trico's fight. You know, now we have to jump out of this area, get to the top again. And what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of pre-firing and killing all of these balcony areas. There's 2 of them, right? It's the same balcony areas that we were in during the fight. Remember, we let all the guards exhaust their spears. The one thing I haven't tested though is as we're climbing out of this place, I don't know if they get a replenishment of spears. Does that make sense? So rather than getting where we are right now and having to worry about spears being tossed at us, if in fact they do get a replenishment, we don't want to have to worry about that. So we're just basically destroying both of these balconies, you know, as we go up, as we fly out of this place, just so we don't have to worry about any spears at all. Okay, so now we're at the double tower sequence. There's going to be 2 balconies over there. I want to say that it's possible for them to hit Trico from where they are. Otherwise, I don't think this would be in the game. But like I've told you guys before, because we're facing them directly, it's very hard for them to hit Trico because his hitbox is smaller. So what I would do here is just kill the guards as fast as possible and then just scale Trico just to be sure. Okay, you'll see on the ground here in just a second that there is a spear on the ground. You see it on the ground. Maybe I'll show it to you. I'm trying to get a camera angle on it. I think it's right there. You see it on the ground there? So it's possible for them to chunk a spear that far. So while I don't think it's likely that there's going to be a spear on Trico, just make sure. So make sure you scale both sides before you press on. So this encounter takes place right after you jump the gap. We're basically where the other 2 guards were that we just killed. This is in that same area. There's a balcony on the back side of the tower. Make sure that you get on Trico's head, and then it is possible for the guard to hit Trico here. So just make sure you kill the guard as fast as possible, and then once again you want to just scale Trico on both sides just to be sure that there's no spears. Okay, so this is the first tower sequence fight right here. It takes place outside. We still got 1 sequence that takes place inside. But you can notice right here, I go straight to Trico's back and I'm waiting for spears. I've got 4 guards up top that are going to continuously toss spears at me until they're out of it. Remember, they don't have infinite spears, so eventually they are going to run out. But until they do, I know that they're going to be tossing spears at me. I'm showing you here that it's virtually impossible. You could do it, but it's highly unlikely that you're going to be able to shoot any of the balcony area until the herd gets thinned out down here on bottom. Until you've killed enough of the guards down here at bottom and he's not flailing around so much, it's really hard to steady your shot to the point where you can actually get a balcony killed or a balcony destroyed during this opening sequence. You mainly want to focus on the spears. You see right there, I've got about 3 or 4 spears in me right now. I'm just trying to pull them out as fast as possible. I'm not too worried about killing anybody or doing anything like that, guys. Remember, it's all about ensuring that you get this trophy. Also, remember that you can save right before this fight. That way you can, you can keep playing as many times as you need to until you're confident that you got them out fast enough. You can see right there, I've got 2 more. There's just spears everywhere. I don't know how to stress it enough. They're just going to be coming at you like crazy. This is what you're hoping. You're just hoping that Trico does what he needs to do to thin them out as fast as possible. Your focus is the spears. Once he's thinned them out enough, we're going to employ a different strategy, and I'll show you that here at the end. But you have to be focused on getting the spears off here as much as possible. Now, eventually, the eyes, the glass eye guys are going to come out, right? The guards that are holding the glass eyes. When they do, I'll show you what we're going to do, and I think that happens right now. I think that happens in just a second. I'm just waiting, because that's kind of stage 2 of this thing. Yeah, so here they come. So what we're going to do now, because at this stage in the game, the people that are tossing spears at you from up top, okay, just based on the math, they're sort of running out of spears. Does that make sense? Because they done tossed a ton at you already. So they're probably halfway through their reserves, if not more than halfway. Now the great thing about it is that you're going to be backing up here because the dudes with the glass eyes are coming out. So now you're continuously pulling out spears. You can see that here, but you can also see that that Trico is backing up, and he will continuously back up, and to the point where the guys up top in the balcony do not have an angle on him, and there's nothing for them to toss at. And that's exactly where you want to be. So you're purposefully letting the dudes with the glass eyes back Trico up, okay, while you're still continuously pulling out spears. Another thing that happens when the glass eye people are out is that he doesn't flail around as much. He doesn't buck around as much because he's focused on the eye, which gives you what? Time to pull out the spears. You guys know if he's bucking around and stuff, it's hard to pull the spears out because he resets your animations. But not the case. With the glass eyes out, it actually benefits you a great deal. Now what you do is you focus on killing them with Trico's lightning. Remember, Trico is still allowed to use his lightning even if the glass eye people are out. He can't manually, he can't physically kill anybody if the glass eyes are out, but he can still use his tail. So that's what you want to do here, right? You can see right here that the dudes at the balcony do not have an angle on me. There are people at ground level that can hit me with spears, but we are facing them, remember, head on. So it's harder for them to hit us with spears, which is great. So the more we're able to back up here, the better chance we have of the guards not being able to hit us, and we get complete control of this fight. Meanwhile, you can see that I got all the spears out in a timely manner, and so that gave us credit for the trophies. You see where we are right now? The guards don't even have a chance to hit us. We've backed up too far. And this will happen. They'll continuously back Trico up. But now you kind of want to start making your stand and start getting some lightning off and start killing them. And then once we're done, we'll go back up there to the balcony and kill those 4, and this fight will be over.
Atisna tu ukiri tawam auzi. Ye do natatizi. Anasuzi. Onotu awizi. Atatu Oshama O2. Agui Magag. Ahinaji Atu.
All right, so here we are, the last fight of the game. This one is not as tricky because we are going to pretty much do the same thing that we did in the previous fight sequence. We're trying to thin these people out at the beginning. We're waiting on them to attack. We're going to be pulling spears out. But remember, there is a sequence in this fight where the people with the glass eyes come out. The guards with the glass eyes come out. When they do, remember, Trico calms down. He's not bucking around as much. We can focus on pulling the spears out, right? Because we can get them out easier. And it's just going to be a repeat process of what we did in the last fight. We're going to stay on his back as much as possible, and we're going to be using our lightning to take out the guards. If you follow that, guys, you shouldn't have any problem getting the trophy. You can see right there that I just got stuck, so I'm trying to get back over there to get that spear out. Like I said, anytime you see a spear, go ahead and remove it. But once the guys with the glass eyes comes out, this fight gets super easy. It takes quite a while. You got to have a little bit of patience like you did in the last fight, but it's going to ensure that you're going to feel pretty confident about getting your trophy. You can see now the dudes with the glass eyes, they're out. And now he's not bucking around as much. I'm able to pull these spears out with ease. You're not worried about them cutting him or anything. He doesn't have health, so just take all the time you need. Make sure you're focused on the spears, and then when you get a chance, you can use your lightning. You can see right there I got 3 spears in me, but he's not bucking around at all, so I'll be able to pull these out really easy. And then every time you get a chance, use your lightning, take out an enemy here, take out an enemy there, remove some spears, thin it out like that across the entire fight. You guys should be good to go. The trophy actually pops after you watch all the cutscenes, but you can of course skip during this run. You're not required to watch them. It happens right there when it says the end. Around that time of the end sequence is when your trophy pops. So that should be enough to get you guys the intensive care trophy. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed. I'll see you in the speed run.
Atazakik inoi oun oshi dastam yedaram awizi. アタキャテジナミチオツリコのソーネキャディサトゥオニキジアナステビュークトゥアウィジ